Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something huge, building your own place in South Africa. We're going to lay the foundation, literally, and give you the blueprint you need to get started. You know, it's a really powerful idea, right? A space designed exactly for you. But what does it actually take to go from a simple patch of dirt to a finished building? We're going to dig into the roadmap, the real costs, and the big challenges you'll face, turning that dream into something you can actually stand in. Okay, before we get into the how, let's talk about the why. Because building from scratch, it's not just about getting the perfect layout. It can have some serious financial perks. I mean, you get to dodge major costs like transfer duties, you've got a brand new property with way less maintenance, and you might even snag some tax benefits down the road. Pretty cool, right? All right, let's dive in. Every single successful build, I don't care if it's a single home or a massive commercial complex, it doesn't start with a shovel. It starts with a solid, well-thought-out plan. This is what we call the developer's roadmap. Now, I know what you're thinking. At first glance, this framework looks, well, pretty intense. But try to think of it less like a rigid textbook process and more like a detailed map for your journey. It's there to guide you through every critical checkpoint, from that first little spark of an idea all the way to a finished building. In fact, we can boil that whole detailed map down into 4 essential phases that pretty much every developer, big or small, has to go through. It all kicks off with your vision. Then it moves into that crucial reality check phase. Is this even feasible? After that, it's all about locking in the details on paper before finally the fun part begins, the actual build. Okay, so let's talk about the big one, the part where the dream meets reality, the money. Getting these numbers right from the very beginning is, well, it's everything. It's absolutely essential to your project's success. First things first, location is king. It drives everything. You can see right here how dramatically the cost per square meter swings across the country. I mean, for a standard 150 square meter home, the difference between building in KZN versus the Northwest is over R1,000,000. That's huge. And that difference, it often just comes down to things like local labor markets, demand, and how much it costs to get materials to your site. So, how does building stack up against just buying a place that's already there? Well, building is often 20 to 30% more expensive right out of the gate. But it's a trade-off. You're basically paying a premium for a custom, low-maintenance home. And at the same time, you're avoiding all those transfer fees and potential renovation nightmares that can come with an older house. So where does all that money actually go? Well, your budget gets split across a few key areas. And the lion's share, about 75% of your total spend, is going to be eaten up by materials and labor. But, and this is crucial, you can't forget about the professional fees and, as we'll talk about in a bit, that all-important contingency fund. Which brings us to the next big question: how do you actually pay for all of this? For most of us, it's not with cash just sitting in the bank. It takes a very specific type of financing that's designed just for building projects. And that's called a construction loan or a building loan. Now, this is different from a standard mortgage. The bank doesn't just hand you a big pile of cash. Instead, they release the funds in stages. They call them draws, as your builder hits key milestones. So, once the foundation is done, they release some money. When the framing is up, they release some more, and so on. The real genius of this single loan structure is just how much simpler it makes everything. It bundles the construction financing and the final mortgage into one neat package. That means you only have to go through the whole approval process once. It saves you time, endless paperwork, and fees. Plus, it lets you lock in your interest rate right from day one. That's a huge deal for cost certainty. Now, applying for one of these is a bit different from your standard mortgage. The lenders, they need to see the full picture. You've got to have your land secured, your plans finalized, a super detailed budget, and a builder who's registered with the NHBRC. That's the National Home Builders Registration Council. Essentially, you have to remember the bank is investing in your plan, not just an existing property. Getting that plan approved is a massive step. But even with the absolute best plan and all the financing in place, things can go wrong. And that brings us to our final and maybe most important section: preparing for the unexpected. What could go wrong? This is a question every single developer needs to ask themselves early and often, because anticipating the problems is the first step to avoiding them. So let's look at the most common pitfalls. The biggest traps are almost always tied to time and money. Delays from bad weather or supply chain issues can create a domino effect that just wrecks your budget. Then there are the hidden costs, things like bank fees and insurance that can totally catch you by surprise. And of course, a loan that isn't structured right for your cash flow can put you under serious financial pressure before you've even opened the doors. So, how do you protect yourself from all that? Well, here it is. This is your secret weapon, a contingency fund. Just setting aside an extra 10 to 15% of your total construction cost creates this crucial buffer. It's the money that allows you to handle those unexpected problems without derailing the entire project. Look, building from the ground up it's a complex and really demanding journey. There's no doubt about it. But with a clear roadmap to follow, a realistic and detailed budget, and the right financing structure to support you, turning that empty plot of land into your perfect space is absolutely 100% within your reach. So the only real question left is, are you ready to build it?